Lauren Egan at The Bulwark writes, the whole story is basically Democrats who don't typically lean into the good news these days with all of our bad experiences of losing every election ever. But we have won an incredible run of special elections and continue to be looking good in a bunch of places you wouldn't have thought. And we've got Zach McCreary, who is a Democratic pollster and astute observer and not one to be smoking hopium. And he's saying here, maybe we can win 35 or 40 seats in the House instead of 15 or 20, which people were talking about as the cap. And as for the Senate, 6 months ago, you really had to squint to see how Democrats could take the majority, said McCreary. Now, I think it's a very straightforward path and a very plausible and realistic path that Democrats can get to 51 or 52, and maybe there's even an upper end to that as well. And then you've got Punch Bowl News here, Senate Leadership Fund, which is the Republicans' sort of official super PAC, spending $342 million and a lot of defensive buys. They're going up with big buys in Ohio, Alaska, Iowa.
I thought that was very interesting, which is obviously you spend big to protect incumbents, but there were some...
You don't want to be having to spend like that in states that Trump carried by like double digits.
That's a tell, man. That is a tell. They're nervous.
I think if you give people some truth serum on Capitol Hill, everyone on both sides of the aisle right now knows that, like, unless something changes in a major trajectory, like nuclear war, but rally around the flag somehow, like Democrats are positioned to have a massive November, which raises an interesting question.
Well, but here's what I will say, though. There is, I mean, money does talk. And you have SLF spending significantly. SLF is the Republican outside group. The Democratic outside group has raised less, has debt. And not only is there SLF, but then you've got hundreds of millions of dollars from these AI companies, from crypto, from APAC, who are going to be spending in these races.
And Trump has like $400 million.
And that is before you get to Trump.
MAGA Inc.
So there is significant money sitting on the sidelines. So I think the factor, like the state of play favors Democrats. But boy, the money really favors Republicans. And how much can you make that up? I mean, that's a question of just how doomed is the situation for Republicans.
I just think that you can run all the slickly produced ads you want. Like, people can't afford gas. People can't afford to live, you know? And like, there's only one way to tell the party in power to go fuck themselves, and that's by voting for Democrats. Our best way of winning for the last 20 years. And I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's not a guarantee here. Like, you know, in the markets, I think it's like 51-49 right now in Democrats' favor, which again is crazy. Going into this cycle, it was like 80-20 Republican. But I think it was Chuck Todd. I was listening to his podcast this morning, as I want to do, and he was raised an interesting question, which is, I think it's been underappreciated. I'll get back to his question in 1 second. I think it's been underappreciated how fundamentally different of a world we live in if Democrats win just the House versus winning the House and the Senate. Like in 2018, we won the House. Did we win the Senate? I don't think.
In 2018?
Yeah. No, I don't. We didn't win the Senate until 2020. That's what I thought. Yeah. And what happened was the Republicans in the Senate were running interference. The Democrats in the House were doing a lot of oversight. But like, it doesn't allow you to pass legislation, you know, and if Democrats take both houses, the question that Chuck Todd raised is, should they work with Donald Trump to try to actually get legislation signed into law and help people, or should they just do like oversight hearings and, you know, document production and impeachments of cabinet members and potentially president?
I struggle with this because, as a good liberal,
because you don't want to help people.
Because I believe that better. As a good liberal, like, I want the government to work. And you know what? I think there are probably deals that can be cut with Donald Trump on some stuff.
He is transactional.
You know, prescription drugs, some cost of living stuff, whatever. But, you know, at that point, like, do you want to be responsible for governing? I mean, to me, it is, you should try to pass legislation that is popular and make him say no. Right? That, to me, is more the move than necessarily trying to cut deals. I think that it's oversight city, baby, and like lifting up the crypto corruption, lifting up, you know, the cuts that have happened in the government, lifting up the like obvious buying and selling that is happening with this administration behind the scenes, I think is an important place to do some oversight. And also, like, trying to pass things that Democrats can say we tried to do but Trump stopped, I think is much more important than trying to work with him to pass stuff, which then gives him and the administration an out, to me.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think they can walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, they should absolutely do aggressive investigations and oversight, no matter what. I think they can also try to pass legislation, and I would focus on passing legislation that, like, maybe Trump will support, or maybe there's a compromise to be had, but like with the understanding that, like, if you pass like a $20 minimum wage with all Democratic votes or whatever, then Trump is either like vetoing a minimum wage hike, or maybe he wants to cut a deal. What I hope we don't do is, like, we're not going to take a deal to do like like a $15 minimum wage because we'd rather just like not let you have any wins and we're going to just do a $20 minimum wage and refuse to work.
We're not going to be. But the question for me, and this is, I literally don't know how this works, is reconciliation versus actually passing stuff. Because we'll never, I mean, even if we win the Senate, there's nothing we'll be able to get done because Republicans will be able to filibuster or stop or any of that stuff. And I don't think now's the moment to undo the filibuster quite yet.
I'm fully support getting rid of the filibuster.
I am for getting rid of the filibuster. I just sort of am like,
I think there is
wait until we have a clear majority and a president.
I think that the government should be more responsive to what happens in the election, and like when democracy cannot function because there are like fundamental impediments that are anti-democratic, like needing 60 votes in the Senate to get things done. That's like bad and undermines democracy in the long run.
I agree with that. But
if you don't care about voting rights,
but I hate voting rights.
And
but it's just I think that you want to do it in one shot when you can actually pass things that make a difference versus when you can't and it can just get undone or who knows what happens in the future.
Yeah,
I think we get one shot at the filibuster.
Yeah, that may be right. I mean, I think like the other thing is if you pass stuff, and when we have Liam Donovan on soon, he'll be great to talk to about this stuff because he knows Senate rules certainly better than either of us do. But like, I do think there will be opportunities to pass, a Democratic bill via reconciliation that does a bunch of things that I think we need to show people what we stand for. And if there are opportunities to do legitimately good things, we should try to get them done because when we go into 2028, it will no longer just be a referendum on we think the party in charge sucks. And like, if a bunch of people vote for Democrats in 2026 and then we just like try to impeach RFK for 2 years and like refuse to do anything else besides like make subpoena Trump children and stuff, like I think that that's not going to age well for us. Like it's an opportunity to show people what we stand for. The last point I'll make on this is like, if he's vetoing stuff, we pass a expanded child tax credit and whatever tax cut for the middle class, paid for by raising taxes on billionaires and big corporations, and he vetoes that stuff. Not only is Trump vetoing that, but then we can try to override the veto, and then every Republican in Congress has to vote against that shit, and then they're all on record doing it. I do think there will be, I would imagine, opportunities to try to like actually get things done for humans, and I feel like that would be helpful.
I am for getting things done for humans. I just think that the universe of things we are going to be able to get done will be quite small, and there is an advantage to saying these guys are stopping us. You need to elect us in order to get, I think that is a more compelling argument than look at all the great things we together have delivered. That being said, what I am describing is a very broken political system.
Yes.
Nobody knows anything.